Good evening.
Good evening.
And welcome to Historic Holy Trinity Church. So glad you're here. We weren't sure if we were going to have a fall program of any kind this year. It's a very strange year, but God is good, and Dr. Vernon Snyder is on top of things, and I'm so glad we have this presentation this evening. But you didn't come to hear from me, so I will be quick. Please silence your cell phones, or turn them off, even better. Holy Trinity Church was organized on Trinity Sunday in 1889. In the living room of the founder of Covina, they were both Episcopalians, but because he was building a city and the Methodist Church was ready first, he joined their board of trustees and helped form what is now Covina Methodist, which is now at San Bernardino and Hollenbeck. We then, with the help of his wife and some prominent families, especially the Cook family and Doolittle family, were able to start a community of Episcopalians. And wouldn't you know it, we first met on Trinity Sunday, and that became our name as well. We went through 3 churches. This is actually our 3rd church, this beautiful Carpenter Gothic and stone church. And slowly but surely, you should be seeing a history exhibit emerging in the 3rd Street front face of the church. There'll be a horse cart that is almost done using parts from 1800s and some new parts as well. Lovingly created by Jay, who is a member of the Buffalo Soldiers reenactment group, who promised to get a horse cart for us, because it symbolizes when we were ready to build our church in 1910 with the help of our rector at that time, Alfred Fletcher, and the architect Arthur Benton, famed for building the Mission Inn in Riverside. We had hired 2 stonemasons who traveled from Scotland by steamship to place stones in place, but we needed the stones. So we hauled them by horse cart from the San Gabriel Valley riverbed, and put them in this place. But that's not where it stopped. By then, the Roman Catholic Church was ready to build in 1911, and we decided we had it down pat. Why not help them build their community? And so we've always been members of community in this beautiful valley of San Gabriel. And so here we are in the midst of a pandemic, probably, if you're like me, thirsting for good liturgy, thirsting for good music. And we have that in spades this evening. I just want to highlight a few things before I turn this over to our Director of Music and Organist, Dr. Vernon Snyder. November 1st at 4 p.m. is our All Souls Requiem. And that'll be at 4 o'clock here under the tent, surrounded by altars of remembrance, ofrendas. Feel free to drop off mementos or photos of your loved ones. And on that night, there'll be a book near the entrance of the garden that if you want to add a name that you would like us to remember. And we will also remember the over 222,000 souls who have lost their lives this year due to the coronavirus and complications during the pandemic. On November 8th is our annual Remembrance Day Evensong and Veterans Observance, with bagpipes and trumpeters that have been already scheduled, and probably a little curtailed service because of the pandemic. We'll have a beautiful service honoring our veterans, and we hope you might consider returning on the 8th of November. Dr. Vernon Snyder seems like he's been around here for a while, but that's probably because the pandemic seems like it's lasting for a long time. But he hasn't been here all that long. We are so blessed to have him. He's performed collaborative and solo concerts throughout the United States, Korea, Taiwan, and live on radio and Classical King FM, Seattle, and others. His work includes frequent performances with the vocal trio and duetto and piano four-hands repertoire in the Lynn Snyder Duo, with collaborations throughout the Los Angeles area and beyond. He's an avid educator and served on the piano faculty at Pomona College and currently CSU Pomona. Dr. Vernon Snyder is author of an Introduction to Music, Great River Learning 2017, an interactive digital publication for use in the university classroom. I know I have secretly gone on the websites to see, when we were thinking of hiring him, what the students thought of him. And they usually said something to the effect of, fantastic teacher, and he's not hard on the eyes to boot. So I am so happy to turn the microphone over to our Director of Music and Organist, Dr. Vernon Snyder. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Father Steve, for the extremely generous introduction and a wonderful summary of the many activities that we still are fortunate to be enjoying in the community here. I've been here just over a year. My first Sunday was September 1st, 2019, and extremely challenging times notwithstanding. We are still doing a lot of wonderful things here. So our program today, we'll get right to it. I'd like to warmly welcome my friend and colleague, Mary Keating, and you can read all about her many achievements in her biography in the program, and we're very fortunate to have her here. She played with us, I think it was on Father's Day, when we were still recording in the church, and before we opened up to in-person services. So you may have already enjoyed her fine playing without realizing it, so she's back in a formal concert setting, which we're very grateful for. The program this afternoon is a very varied program. We have a lot of short miniature pieces to start off with, and then we'll conclude the program with a larger Mozart Sonata. The first piece that we'd like to play for you today is one that you may be familiar with. It's the Ave Maria, the Bach-Gounod Ave Maria. As you may know, that the keyboard part is actually based on the first prelude of the Well-Tempered Clavier. And as the musical legend goes, Gounod, a 19th century French composer, improvised this melody over a contemporaneous, spontaneous performance of the Bach keyboard piece. So supposedly this was transcribed by somebody who was in the room at the time, and this has now been handed down as a standard in oftentimes the church repertoire, and given our setting, I thought it would be an appropriate way to begin the concert. So I'll say just a few words about everything that we'll be playing. It'll be about an hour program without intermission, so we should be done a little after 6. And so you'll be hearing from me as the evening progresses. So please enjoy the Bach-Gounod Ave Maria. continue on with another standard in the violin repertoire. The Méditation, or Meditation, by Massenet, is very commonly known as a piano and violin duet, but it's actually an instrumental entr'acte from one of his operas, Thaïs, and it has rightfully so made its way into the violin, this duo repertoire, because of its beautiful melody. So we continue on with this beautiful standard in the repertoire. I hope you enjoy it. Adagio in E major. This was written in around 1776, when Mozart was about 20 years of age. It appears that this is actually intended to replace a slow movement from one of the violin concerti. It's not really typical during the classical era to have standalone miniature pieces. That's more of a characteristic we associate with the Romantic era later. So this piece probably, from what we know, a violinist was complaining about the simplicity, evidently, of one of the slow movements of a violin concerto, and so Mozart replaced it with this more involved. Is this right, Mary? Am I making things up?
Sounds right.
I was elected the spokesperson for this event, but please correct me if I misspeak. So that, and then you'll hear a more substantial work from Mozart. Mozart gets the last word in today's event with a 3-movement sonata later on. So this is the warm-up to Mozart, the Adagio in E major. Posthumously. It was written for Chopin's older sister as an exercise to introduce his second and much more substantial piano concerto. It's funny what these great composers write as so-called exercises, and they turn out to be these masterpieces. And the same with Bach. If you look at Bach's music and his inscriptions and the keyboard music in particular, it's always just talking about building musical character and taste. And they turn out to be these monuments of musical masterpieces. So it's interesting, the nascence of these so-called preparatory drills. It's a beautiful piece, very characteristic of Chopin in that the melody is in the right hand and the accompaniment figures is in the left hand. So you could think of it in sort of a duet with one performer, one instrument, melody in the right hand, accompaniment in the left hand. So I think you may be familiar with this. It's appeared in a few films as well. And you may recognize it. And then I'll say a few words about the piece that I will play after that. So I hope you enjoy the Chopin Nocturne in C# minor. Beautiful piece. The next piece I'd like to play is, this is actually kind of to tie into an event that we were planning to do pre-pandemic, which is a vocal concert with my friend and colleague Kala Maxim, who's a brilliant singer and a businesswoman. And that concert will still happen. That'll be the next thing. As soon as we can gather indoors and singing is safe and permissible, we will be moving forward with that. This is the first movement, so we were going to, and we will, eventually do a song cycle that begins with a piano introduction for the first movement by a Spanish composer, Turina. And interestingly, the first movement is for solo piano, so I thought, why not play that today as a very small preview of what will be coming later on, and you'll hear the full glory of its fullness with the vocal part later on. So this is part of a larger cycle for voice and piano. It's a has elements typical of 19th and 20th century Spanish music and beyond, with these declamatory gestures and these repeated notes that may be evocative of flamenco guitar and textures like that. So perhaps you'll recognize some of those elements in this piece, Dedicatoria, and I hope you enjoy it. And then when we do that concert, that'll be continued with several other lovely songs that sing about love and tragedy and all the things that music always always talks about. We are moving on to a Sicilienne by Maria-Theresia from Paradis. She was an Austrian composer and musician around during the classical era, and she performed quite frequently throughout Europe in spite of losing her sight at a tragically young age. And she had commissioned works, I believe, by Salieri, Mozart, Haydn, and was really highly regarded in the concert and compositional circuit. So this is a Sicilienne, and this is basically kind of a lilting dance. It was a common genre of compositions in the 17th and 18th century. So we hope you enjoy this Sicilienne. We welcome Mary back. Hopefully she hasn't frozen to death waiting for This was originally intended to give you a little bit of a break, but maybe you're actually frozen now after sitting there cold for 5 minutes, but
Okay.
we move onward.
Yes.
This is a Mozart Sonata. This is the only large structure piece that we're doing this afternoon. And loudening, gradually getting softer, and another dynamic, maybe more obvious use of dynamics. So that's associated with the Mannheim school in terms of the kind of philosophy. Very influential in Mozart in the classical era, and probably continued on to Beethoven, who was particularly known for his dramatically loud and soft fluted. So Mozart will get the last word, and thank you again for joining us this evening, and stay tuned with Facebook, YouTube, and announcements for those of you that are here on a weekly basis. There will be more events coming. Father Steve noted them in terms of the church services, and we will move forward with other musical events and keep you all posted, so stay tuned. And thank you again. Enjoy. Thank you again, everyone, so much for coming. Hope to see you all soon. Stay tuned. There will be many more events coming up. So thank you again. Take care. Have a wonderful night.